There is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. There is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. There is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
Good morning, Bitcoin. Today is Friday, July 24th, 2020. My name is Thomas Hunt, and this is the World Crypto Network. The price of Bitcoin is down 0.92% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 9,545, a high of 9,632, and a low of 9,469. That's $1 for 10,477 Satoshis. But first, Bluebird by Carlos Bukowski. There's a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I'm too tough for him. I say, stay in there. I'm not going to let anybody see you. There's a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I pour whiskey on him and inhale cigarette smoke, and the whores and the bartenders and the grocery clerks never know that he's in there. There's a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I'm too tough for him. I say, stay down. Do you want to mess me up? Do you want to screw up the works? Do you want to blow my book sales in Europe? There's a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I'm too clever. I only let him out at night sometimes, when everybody's asleep. I say, I know that you're there, so don't be sad. Then I put him back. He's singing a little in there. I haven't quite let him die. And we sleep like that, together, with our secret pact. And it's nice enough to make a man weep. But I don't weep. Do you? The Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 150 points on China retaliation. Yes, after the United States forced China to close one of its embassies, I believe in Houston, China has responded by forcing the United States to close its embassy in Chengdu. Intel crashes 18% on earnings, and Tesla dives 9% on a downgrade. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 0.71% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 26,462 and a previous day's close of 26,652. Our top story, Carlos Ghosn, former son of Renault and Nissan head and fugitive Carl Ghosn, his son used Coinbase, that's funny, to pay two men $600,000 in Bitcoin to get his father out of Japan last December. As I'm sure you recall, Mr. Ghosn, famously formerly the CEO of Nissan, was smuggled out of Japan in a large box. They found the box later, and it was CEO-sized. It turned out his kidnappers, or his people that freed him from Japan, I don't know, smugglers, I suppose, were paid $600,000 in Bitcoin. Not bad. Steve Wozniak sues YouTube over ongoing Bitcoin scams. That's a great move by Wozniak. It makes no sense that YouTube can't stop these things instantly. For these infomercials with Wozniak, Elon Musk, and others' pictures alongside an advertisement for a fake Bitcoin scam. If anyone promises to double your Bitcoins, don't send your Bitcoins to them. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. Bitcoin rally in danger? Wall Street veterans warn of NASDAQ bubble. The price of Bitcoin faces a near-term pullback as Wall Street veterans warn of a NASDAQ bubble forming. Ned Davis, who has operated his namesake Wall Street research firm since 1980, believes a NASDAQ bubble is forming, based on the rough correlation between Bitcoin and stocks in recent months. It could negatively affect the crypto market. Since March of 2020, Bitcoin and the S&P saw an uncanny correlation. There were some periods where Bitcoin was stagnant during a stock market rally, especially from May to June, but from the most part, the correlation has remained high. On June 9th, the correlation between Bitcoin and the S&P 500 reached an all-time high at 0.38. And if NASDAQ goes down, Bitcoin might go down too. Bitcoin rallies 5% as U.S. regulator greenlights bank crypto custody. Bitcoin price surged 5% to $9,664 less than 24 hours after the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency announced that U.S. banks can now provide crypto custody services. From safe deposit box to virtual vaults, we must ensure that banks can meet the financial services needs of their customers today. This opinion clarifies that banks can continue satisfying their customers' needs for safeguarding their most valuable assets, which today, for tens of millions of Americans, includes cryptocurrency. Exciting stuff, as banks can now hold your crypto if you trust them. 7 reasons to consider investing your stimulus check in Bitcoin. It's another tone-deaf article from Forbes magazine that doesn't realize in just a few days we're going to start one of the largest eviction crises in America. Many people can't afford their rent or groceries. It's not exactly time for them to buy Bitcoin. Sure, when was the best time to buy Bitcoin? Probably the first time you heard about it. When was the second best time? Well, the second time you heard about it and checked the price. Yes, but you should buy groceries and food first. Greatest chess player of all time backs Bitcoin. The world's most famous champion chess player, Garry Kasparov, Grandmaster, supports Bitcoin as a means to fight human rights violations. Garry Kasparov, the Russian chess master who faced off against IBM's Deep Blue supercomputer in a not very fair match. The computer was trained by many grandmasters, all of whom were focused on beating the one human being. Kasparov says that Bitcoin, crypto, and blockchain technologies are the solution to the demand for privacy in financial markets. In a July 23rd interview with Forbes contributor Roger Huang, Kasparov said he saw many upsides to cryptocurrency. According to him, they give individuals more control over their money, which is usually regulated either by the state, corporations, or outside parties. The good thing about Bitcoin is that you know exactly the number, the magic number of 21 million, the chess master said, referring to the maximum number of Bitcoin tokens that will ever be mined. But when you look at the other side, at the Fed, for instance, you never know how many trillions of dollars will appear on the market tomorrow that will damage your savings.
There is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
An infinite is a lot. Kasparov is the chair of the Human Rights Foundation, a foundation which uses technology and digital innovations to protect those whose freedoms are threatened. According to him, blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin are natural choices for protection against infringements on privacy and human rights. Kasparov says, I think the steady rise in popularity of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology as a concept is inevitable because it's a response of the shift of power from individuals to states or other institutions that may act on our privacy without our consent. And Jack Dorsey says that Twitter feels horrible after the massive Bitcoin hacking scandal. Oh, poor Jack. Twitter still hasn't explained why their administration tool has the ability to act as their customers, essentially forging messages in their name. For what reason would the administration tool need this purpose? They've also seen an attack this week as Twitter has declared war on the QAnon right-wing conspiracy theory with the large-scale banning of accounts associated with that theory. Check out World Crypto Network store at worldcryptonetwork.store. You can get the World Crypto Network mug with both logos, the Treasures Don't Float t-shirt, the Bitcoin Not Bombs t-shirt, and World Crypto Network, the t-shirt, all at worldcryptonetwork.store. Also, check out the World Crypto Network podcast on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, and other places where podcasts are heard. I'll try to update it soon, but for now, it's a little out of date. The World Crypto Network podcast on Apple, iTunes, and other places. And now, here's the news. Oh no, not the news. Not the news. It's been a little while. It's been since July 16th, so we have 8 days potentially of news. It's unlikely we'll get through all that news, but here we go. Let's give it a try anyway. 8 days ago on July 16th, we were still talking about the Twitter hack, and it looks like one of the solutions that Twitter may have temporarily rolled out was blocking Bitcoin addresses. As Christopher Franco says, blocking Bitcoin addresses has got to be the laziest fucking solution ever conceived. It was pretty lazy. They also banned verified accounts from writing on Twitter, which led to the National Weather Service not being able to announce a tornado or something like that. So they're going to have special lists of accounts that they can't stop from posting. And just in general, it underlies why Twitter should be more of a short message service run by many servers rather than a centralized message service owned by one company. But no one's figured that out yet, so don't say that. Dan Rather says, over time, we will learn more about what is happening now. Journalists and historians will get their hands on documents. People will talk. And the tragedy and outrage of the present will only grow the more we know. Doctors say, the CDC director says, the United States could get COVID under control in 1 to 2 months if everyone wears masks. That's all it would take if everyone wore masks. Congratulations to Zap Wallet. Zap Wallet is here to stay, closing a $3.5 million seed round with their strategic partners and Visa. A special deal with Visa for Zap Wallet, making the Lightning Network easy to use. Congratulations to Jack Mahlers and the rest of the Zap team. Here's a picture of Elon Musk from Swift on Security, a funny account on Twitter. This picture was posted on September 16th, 2018. It says, hello, I'm Elon Musk, and I'm giving away Bitcoin if you send me yours first. Swift on Security, 2 years ahead of the Twitter hacking news. We've got our usual numbers. 123 visitors to Nevada tested positive for the virus. And we've got more. Russia is hacking the virus vaccine trials, according to the United States and Canada. People who socially distance may be more intelligent, according to a new study. Interesting. Twitter's banned any text that looks like a hash output. This is, of course, to stop people from posting Bitcoin addresses, but also it breaks posting hash pre-commitments, posting get comment ideas, posting download checksums, and posting fingerprints, for example, key-based attestations. So yes, when you ban things randomly like Twitter did when they were having problems, it can lead to more problems. China is cutting Uyghur births with IUDs, abortion, and sterilization. The genocide against the Muslim Uyghurs in China continues. The press secretary said that the science should not stand in the way of schools reopening. Yes, the science won't stand in our way. And Mary Trump's amazing new memoir, which I finished up a couple days ago, has sold over 950,000 copies on its first day. A record-selling day for Mary Trump's new excellent memoir. You should check it out. Too Much and Never Enough. Really gets behind the psychological details of what it was like growing up with Donald Trump. It was a nightmare. The Twitter hackers did a service. They used an obvious Bitcoin scam, which only caused $120,000 in damage, as a tool to expose a vulnerability before someone could have done something so much worse. And everybody's been talking about it. You could have crashed the stock market. You could have started a war. But all they did was try to get you to send them your Bitcoin. It's not that creative. The governor of Georgia is suing Atlanta over the city's requirement to wear masks in public. That's right. He's suing to prevent, or actually to cause, the spread of the coronavirus. He's preventing them from preventing the spread of the coronavirus. Great job, Georgia. Great choice in governor. Things are bad in Portland, Oregon, and that was about a week ago. Things have certainly gotten worse. There's military troops on their way to Portland, Oregon. Look how many wheels that thing has. Gosh, that's 4 on each side. Looks like 8. That's a big car. And the feds rolled into Portland using rental cars and minivans to then grab protesters off the street and drag them away. They say now recently that they're going to expand this program to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and Chicago, Illinois. So, great stuff as Trump's troops continue to move into America. Of course, as we were saying, we're going to have these stories continue to come out of these sporting leagues where the gladiators are now once again risking their lives to provide you with entertainment to distract you from what's going on. Rockets and Kings players are the first two to break NBA quarantine at the Disney bubble ahead of the restart. One of the players went to a friend's family gathering. The other player walked across the campus to get his delivery food. They're both quarantined now. This is not as bad as what else has been happening, where certain players keep testing positive and X number of players from this league and X number of players from that league. It just keeps happening. Las Vegas is in the red zone for new cases, and hydroxychloroquine still doesn't do anything. New data shows yet another study showing that hydroxychloroquine doesn't do anything despite the United States packing up millions of dollars in supplies of hydroxy, all of it worthless and useless, unless you have malaria, I assume. How much money was stolen in the Twitter hack? Only around $120,000. As Joseph Young said, imagine engineering arguably the most high-profile hacking attack in recent years to steal $110,000 that is most likely traceable, and is probably being traced right now. It wasn't a very good Twitter hack. They could have gotten much more, and they could have gotten something else. Daniel Modell agrees, writing, "If you can't find Mary Trump's book because it sold 1 million goddamn copies on day one, get the Kindle or Audible version. This book should be required reading for every person on this planet for the next century." Mary Trump's new book. Great stuff from Mary Trump. Fox News cut away from Trump's speech to defend President Obama. "We've reached the weirdest circle of hell yet." Yes, things are getting different. Let's skip ahead. Let's try to keep going. What else has been going on out there? Sad news as NASA has pushed back the launch of the Webb Space Telescope, of course, citing COVID-19. This telescope is now pushed back till 2021. So, bad news for people who wanted to look a little farther into space. We talked about this, but protesters of the mask policy, well, it went away, but They're now wearing masks that offer no COVID-19 protection. So people are wearing lace underwear on their face. They're poking holes in their masks. They're trying to meet the letter of the law, but not actually protect themselves and others. So great stuff, America. Really, really doing it. Dr. Anthony Fauci pleads with young people. You're propagating the pandemic. But of course, we all knew this when they spread all those stories about how young people couldn't be effective, giving them an era of invincibility that now they're continuing to spread the virus. As I said, we're going to be having these stories. Here's another one. NFL, the National Football League Players Association, releases the COVID-19 data, announcing that 72 players have tested positive. But that's okay. Get out there and entertain people. Gladiator style. To the death. The United States continues to break records with more than 77,000 new cases of coronavirus in a single day. Way to go. USA. USA. Great stuff. There was another White House press conference, this time with 2 large pickup trucks as props. The red truck is the Republican truck with the weight of regulation being lifted off the truck. The blue truck is the Democrat truck weighed down by regulations like stopping pollution and not destroying the environment. You know, making the world livable for future generations. That sounds awful. But what a ridiculous picture. It looks like a car commercial on the White House lawn, but it's real. So things are great. 10 years ago, on July 17th, according to Clark Moody, legendary creator of several early Bitcoin charts, the first Bitcoin trade on Mt. Gox swapped 20 Bitcoins for about $1 at a price of around 5 cents a coin. You could have gotten 20 Bitcoins for $1 just 10 years ago, July 17th, 2010. Shout out to Vaultoro. Be sure to follow Vaultoro, V-A-U-L-T, Oro, that's Spanish for gold, on Twitter if you haven't already. Vaultoro is a great way to buy and sell Bitcoin, and you can hedge into gold. So it's very cool. Check out Vaultoro at Vaultoro.com and at Vaultoro on Twitter. Check out the new tourist bridge in Guangdong. It's very understated and certainly does not resemble a psychedelic glowing toilet seat. In no way does this bridge look like a glowing psychedelic disco toilet seat. There you go, little palate cleanser. And the Trump administration is continuing to take advantage of the Trump hotels. In just 2 days, the Trump campaign pumped $380,000 into Trump's private businesses in 43 separate payments. The Trump organization says this was for a week-long donor retreat held in early March at Mar-a-Lago. Campaign donations are instantly turned into private revenue for the President of the United States, just like the Constitution says it was meant to be. The Emoluments Clause, which, as you know, allows foreign donations and other donations to the president and other officials directly. That's right. Emoluments are explicitly legal in the United States Constitution. In fact, you can bribe or donate as much money as you want to any candidate at any time. It's almost as if there are no rules at all. In the United States, come on down. You can buy any politician you want. No one cares. Many people were confused that John McAfee claimed to eat his dick on July 17th. Actually, John McAfee claims he'll eat his dick at the end of the year. Yes, he said at the end of 2020, the price of Bitcoin must be, I want to say, $200,000 a coin. McAfee has backed off on this prediction, saying it was just a marketing stunt and so on and so forth. But still, he's got a chance. The price could go up, and if not, could always be one of those Saw things. Someone could make him do it. Seth Abramson writes, "The news from Portland is terrifying. According to Oregon media and viral eyewitness videos, silent, unidentified armed men in unmarked cars are grabbing law-abiding citizens off the streets without explanation. Local authorities don't know who they are. This is how it starts." That's how it starts. And here's video of it right here. You can see the unmarked federal agents marching across the beautiful streets of Portland and picking up this protester. Remember, many of these troops are here for the most important cause in the United States. That's right, graffiti removal. The protection of property in the United States is far above human rights. Human rights are not as important as private business and government property. Learn the law, folks. Read the Constitution. It says government and corporations first, citizens second, if that. Exciting weather in the United Kingdom. Radar is picking up a swarm of flying ants across the southeast. During the summer months, ants can take to the skies in a mass emergence, usually on warm, humid, and windless days. And now there's so many ants, they're picking them up on radar in the United Kingdom. Scary stuff. Flying ants on radar in the UK. Looks like it's in the south, though. Never been down there myself. Did you know American passports are worthless now? That's right, you can't even go to Canada with an American passport. All of Europe is closed to you, and according to this map, it looks like South America, most of Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, China, Russia, pretty much anywhere you'd want to go, you can't go now, thanks to the President of the United States. He's doing a great job spreading the coronavirus and killing more Americans, and now you can't even travel to get away from it. Joe Biden has released 21 years of tax returns. Why hasn't Donald Trump? We deserve to know what the president is hiding. Of course, if you did any research at all, you know what he's hiding. Yes, the president had lots of bankruptcies during the 1990s. Who would loan him the money to save him from these bankruptcies? Yes, who indeed would loan him the money? The tax returns will let us know, but let's not find out. Let's remain blissfully ignorant. Oh, this is a great video. Do we have a minute and a half? Talking to the producer in the booth. They say we have it. This is, as Tyler Hoggy says, I think this is my favorite video I've ever posted. So that's high praise. Let's give it a try. Something to clear it up today. Something different than politics and so on.
Shit. Happy birthday. Don't cry. You're about to make me cry. Don't cry. Pull it out. Let the world see it. I ain't forget about you. Yeah. I want to see some home runs. I love you. Don't cry. Let me see. Let me see you post up with it. How you gonna knock it out the bar? There you go. Right. Yup. Happy birthday. I got it! Yeah! Yeah! I caught it, boo! I caught it, baby! Yeah! Way to go, boo! Nice home run, kid! Thank you! Thank you, boo! Yeah, boo!
Oh, now you're going to make me cry. What a beautiful video. He buys his son a bat, tells him to go hit a home run, and then he does it. He goes and hits the home run. So that was just a beautiful video. Shout out to Devin Fowler at YouTube, likely the original source of that video. Great stuff. Way to go. Very cool. Hit those home runs. And now back to the news. The Guardian newspaper in the United Kingdom's financial outlook is unsustainable. So the paper is planning on job cuts in both editorial and commercial roles as the economic shock caused by the coronavirus pandemic continues to attack and impact the media industry. As David says, The Guardian is a tremendous paper that consistently does important watchdog reporting. Britain will be the poorer for these cuts. And I remember during the Iraq War, being stuck with only American news, I had to actually go out of country and read The Guardian to figure out what was actually going on, because they weren't actually reporting it here. So sad to see The Guardian, like so many newspapers, hit by that trouble. Chris Wallace had a fun interview with President Trump. They talked about him taking a dementia test, and the president bragged several times that he is not demented, as if it was an accomplishment. Shout out to BTC socialist Ben Ark. He wrote an open letter to Yanis Varoufakis, the former Greek finance minister, asking him about Bitcoin, if he thinks it's good now, and letting him know about some of the new updates, such as the Lightning Network, which Ben says, utilizing the Lightning Network alone, society could create complex openness and transparency for public spending, and, at the same time, privacy for its citizens. Mr. Yanis Varoufakis has responded on Twitter. He will read the article and write a detailed response. So very cool to see people just, if you want to talk to somebody, you just write to them. This all started because of a comment Ben made on Twitter that Yanis then replied to, and now Ben has written it up into an article, and we very much await Yanis's reply. Very cool to see how small and flat the world is sometimes thanks to Twitter. You can just reach out to an economic expert, to the former Greek finance minister, and have a conversation with him. Very cool stuff. Cloudflare went down for a couple days, Cloudflare. And as Swift on Security says, finding out the entire world is just Cloudflare because all the sites went down. Cloudflare is a service when you have a very popular website or a website that might be hacked or DDoSed. You set your servers to run through Cloudflare, and they'll provide a backup copy of your website. But when they break, many websites suddenly can't even provide their normal website. So interesting stuff. The White House continues to say that schools should reopen, while at the same time they're blocking the CDC director from testifying at a committee about opening the schools. They're only the Center for Disease Control. Why would you consult them about infectious diseases? That's just ridiculous. No one would do that. A new update on Breonna Taylor, who was murdered by police. She was alive after the police shot her, records indicate. No one tried to treat her. She remained untouched for 20 minutes after she was shot. I remember Breonna Taylor was at her boyfriend's house. Her boyfriend was under suspicion of some kind of drug charge, so the police busted down their door and shot about 20 shots into their bed, killing Breonna Taylor, who had nothing at all to do with it. Still, the police have not been charged for these crimes. Interesting story. The portraits of President Bill Clinton and George W. Bush were moved from the grand foyer in the White House and put into a room mainly used to store tablecloths and furniture. Amazing, amazing scoop by Jeff Zelensky and Kevin Liptak at CNN. They moved the painting. So much for that. And they're also not going to unveil the new Obama painting because the two presidents get along so poorly. That's a normal thing. That happens all the time. Well, okay, so it hasn't happened for the last 50 years, but other than the last 50 years, I'm sure that happens all the time. Another killer tweet here by Dan Rather. He's really grasping this new medium well. Where would we have been without cell phone cameras? I sometimes wonder how history would have been different if we'd had them sooner. Yes, it would have been interesting to see the grassy knoll if more people than just Zapruder had a camera, right? Imagine if everybody had a camera on that day. There'd be so many different videos. The Trump administration on a deadly pandemic. You're on your own, states. The Trump administration on graffiti in Portland. We're sending federal troops to kidnap and maim as many people as necessary to stop that deadly graffiti. Oh, graffiti's bad. Chelsea Handler says, it's too bad that Donald Trump can't read. There's such a fun book out about him. Check out Mary Trump's new book. It's a fantastic read, especially if you're a fan of Trump. You'll learn so much about his detailed psychology, his success with business. Spoiler alert, his dad funded all of his businesses. One time, when his casinos were going out of business, his father's driver drove the limo down to the casino, bought $1.25 million in chips. Hey, that's illegal. Then drove away with the chips, not gambling at all. It's almost like Donald Trump's father gave $1 million loan to the casino by buying those chips. Don't worry, the casino went out of business anyway. Trump has apparently chosen Portland to test his law and order re-election strategy, deploying unmarked Homeland Security troops using tear gas, high-impact weapons, and the power to arrest innocent protesters, much as he and Barr did in Lafayette Square in Washington, D.C. Be warned. Shout out to Elon Musk, another great meme. He says here it's Dogecoin standard and the global financial system. And Dogecoin looks like it's about to wipe it out. So very cool stuff. Elon Musk. Casey Neistat has an important life update. Do not, under any circumstances, try to make rainbow kettle corn. Leave it to the pros. My kitchen is covered in molten plastic-like sugar. My hands are covered in second-degree burns, and this shit is inedible. Do not make rainbow kettle corn at home. A sad day as former Representative John Lewis has died at 80 years old. As the New York Times says, a towering figure in the historic struggle for racial equality, he carried a mantle of moral authority in everything he did. As Bill Gates says on Twitter, this is a great loss for America and for everyone who believes in making the world a more just place. John Lewis not only saw that our country could be better, he never stopped working to make it that way. We need leaders like him more than ever. John Lewis. Joe Biden has begun receiving presidential intelligence briefings, and he's warned the Russians are still engaged in trying to delegitimize our electoral process. Fact. We're going to have some fun in November. Get ready for the coup. Everybody loves a coup. There's nothing to worry about. Nothing at all. This is great. This is Governor DeSantis from Florida on not closing gyms because of the coronavirus. He says, taking away that option for people to be healthy just doesn't make sense. Unless, of course, there was a novel coronavirus traveling from person to person, affecting even healthy people at the gym. Yes, taking away that option doesn't make sense Unless, of course, we're in the middle of a pandemic, which doesn't seem to be affecting Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Coinbase is bragging about their own destruction. Yes, 2 years ago, Coinbase listed only 4 assets, meaning that they weren't ripping off their customers by selling them a bunch of garbage. Today, Coinbase lists nearly 60 assets on custody or trading, becoming like Cripsy. As I predicted many years ago, Coinbase is always chasing someone else's business model. At first, they wanted to become like local Bitcoins. Then they wanted to become like the stock market, and so on and so forth. Now, they want to become like Cripsy and get all those sweet fees for trading altcoins. Of course, Binance has already passed them and becoming more like Cripsy than Cripsy. Everything but the exit scam. But today, they brag about selling 60 different assets instead of just selling Bitcoin. As Whale Panda writes, what this actually means is that some of the investors of Coinbase have very heavy 2017 to 2018 ICO bags that they need to unload on unsuspecting retail traders. They have still not done anything to actually support Bitcoin, the only reason why Coinbase exists in the first place. A crew of new artists are working on some new Trump statues around Washington, D.C. You can see one on the left, the Poser, as Donald Trump poses with his famous upside-down Bible while a police officer is beating a protester. They also have the Bunker. Donald Trump holds a teddy bear in his arms as he hides in the bunker from the protesters. Impressive new statues going up around Washington, D.C., hopefully to replace some of those Confederate statues and fill the void that was left in your statue life. Tammy Duckworth says that it's been 3 weeks. It's been 3 weeks since the American people learned of Putin reportedly offering bounties for the killing of American troops, and there's been nothing but deny from the White House. Donald Trump is a disgrace and a danger to us all. Another celebration here of John Lewis. Bridget Todd writes, my favorite thing about John Lewis is that at Comic-Con, he cosplayed as his younger self, wearing the same coat and backpack he wore at the March on Selma, and he led kids in a little march around the convention. What a cool thing here, John Lewis wearing his old jacket and backpack to reenact the March on Selma. Very cool. Think about this. Spain is shutting down over 628 cases on Friday. The United States is racking up over 75,000 new cases a day, and our federal government is pretending we're fine and urging reopening schools. You feel very safe here in the United States. Very, very safe. As Ricardo Spagni says at Fluffy Pony, Ethereum's commitment is to minimize issuance as much as possible. Congratulations, you just reinvented the Federal Reserve.
There's an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
And there's an infinite amount of Ethereum, yes. Sad news on the 17th. The cathedral at Nantes, I don't know how to say it, Nantes, in Paris, in France, is on fire. Come on, you can't even see it in this video here. Well, this is what the cathedral looked like before it was on fire, so it looks kind of magnificent there. But yes, it was on fire. It was the famous place of the Edict of Nantes, which I looked up, and it legalized the Huguenots. It allows you to be a Protestant in Catholic France. Yes, you could have a different religion thanks to the Edict of Nantes, or Nantes, something like that. COVID-19 hospital data in Kansas and Missouri is suddenly incomplete or missing following the Trump administration's change to how they collected this data. Previously, the data was collected by the Center for Disease Control. Oh, that makes sense. So the Center for Disease Control would collect the data and distribute it to everyone else. They've changed it so the data now comes inside the Trump administration to the Health and Human Services Department. And it seems like they just lost the data, or they didn't post it or something. No worries, just shrug your shoulders and move along. There's nothing to see here. Jim Cramer from Mad Money says, most importantly, put on a mask for the common good, but also do it for the economy. Yes, that's right. Wearing a mask could get us back to buying things in stores sooner than not wearing a mask. So even if you don't care about the community, maybe you care about the economy and money. So wear a mask for that reason. Think about money when you put your mask on. Overwhelmed and terrified. Las Vegas reopening backfires terribly. Casinos have been open for weeks, undeterred by 123 visitors who tested positive, and a Caesars employee who has died, and a hospital system reaching max capacity. Yes, it's been a disaster, and we told you so. Right here on the show, we told you America was reopening too early based upon the charts and the data, and we warned Las Vegas that previously their reputation for being a fun place for tourists to go could be transformed into a fun place for tourists to die. That sounds like a shitty vacation. The president is still golfing. Here's another video of police brutality. This is a man who had expired tags. Yes, he hadn't paid his vehicle registration. So, of course, the police were understanding and kind. They also, of course, respected him. No, who am I kidding? It was much worse than that.
This officer is trying to unlock my car. This officer is unlocking my car. They just illegally entered my car. And I'm being forcefully removed.
Take a look at me. I'm a fucking specimen right here, buddy.
Sir,
you have gotten on my last
My hands are up on camera.
All right?
I'm in no threat.
You're going to get your ass whooped in front of fucking Lord and all creation. I'm going to give you one more chance.
I'm being threatened.
You can bring that with you. I'll let you film the whole thing.
I'm being threatened right now.
I'm giving you a chance.
I am not doing anything. I feel
I'm giving
unsafe.
you a chance.
I feel unsafe. And I'm in no threat to these three officers. My hands are up. I am doing nothing wrong to provoke anybody or anything. Making sure this is all recorded. I've just been threatened by a lawful officer. I have just been threatened by a law officer as two other officers stand by and say absolutely nothing. Willing to participate. My passenger door was open. My driver door was open. I have it on camera. He rolled my window down to do so.
I'm giving you to the count of 3.
Sir, this is all on camera. I am not resisting. I'm making sure it is being known. I am not resisting.
Okay.
My hands are up. One hand on this camera. My seatbelt is being arrested.
As long as your hands are up, that's fine.
I'm not resisting.
As long as your hands are up.
I was unlawfully. Sir, please do not touch me, sir.
Keep your phone out.
Sir, please do not touch me.
See, that's where we're coming to a disagreement.
It's not about
I'm giving you to the count of 3. Don't do it.
Sir,
Don't do it.
I'm not touching this officer. It's on camera. My hand is by my head. I'm being threatened.
Now you're under arrest. Now you're under arrest for disobeying the law of an officer. I'm giving you to the count of 3.
This officer has threatened me, and I'm making it known I am no threat to this officer. I've been threatened.
Watch the show.
My life is in danger. My life is in danger.
How do you like that? How do you like that? Huh? Put your hands up. Put your hands up.
Get off me. My hands are behind my back, sir. My hands are behind my back. I am not resisting. Sir, please get off my neck. I'm not resisting. Get off.
And there we go. Another satisfactory encounter with law enforcement in the United States. It almost seems like a movie, doesn't it? The officer talking directly into the camera saying, hey, watch the show, folks, and I'm going to beat your ass in front of God and creation. I remember when God said that. He said, if someone drives with expired vehicle tags, you should beat their ass. I think we need more officers like that, he said sarcastically. The president said he doesn't want to issue a national mask mandate because he wants people to have a certain freedom to spread the virus, a certain freedom to die, a certain freedom to serve Russia by destroying the United States. Who knows what it is, but there's some kind of certain freedom that you would lose if he mandated national masks. Remember, we talked about this the other day. The reason you mandate things is it changes how businesses act. If you have a national mask mandate, suddenly the businesses are required by law to have masks. It's really simple. You know exactly what to do. You require masks in your store, or they sue you, they fine you, they shut you down. You know exactly what to do. Whereas right now, without a national mandate, without a state mandate, or situations like Georgia, where the governor is actually suing the cities, stopping them from mandating masks, the businesses don't have to do anything. They're not required to do anything. Because they're not required to do anything, they don't do anything, and then we spread the virus more. So if you mandated the masks, they'd be required to do it rather than it just being an option. And as the doctors have already said over and over again, if we just all wore masks for about 2 weeks, we could kill off the virus instead of killing off the country. But then again, if you don't work for this country, you don't care about killing it off, and you think that, hey, it might actually benefit you. Tom Hartman highlights an excellent article on Alternet. We have now reached peak libertarianism, and it is literally killing us. The article goes on to outline how the Libertarian Party was created over 40 years ago by the billionaire class with the idea of spreading dangerous selfishness. Yes, the billionaires believe that if they could trick the common people into being so selfish that they wouldn't help each other, that they could actually fool them into voting against their own interests. The billionaires have been incredibly successful and are now literally destroying society. Great stuff from the billionaires who created libertarianism. 85 infants under the age of 12 months have tested positive for the coronavirus in one Texas county. Yes, that's right. It's spreading to children too, as we predicted, as everyone who was sensible knew, but maybe no one sensible lives in Texas. Let's see right here. I think this will be pretty good.
So we are saying, don't go to work, go to work. Don't take public transport, go to work, don't go to work. Stay indoors. If you can work from home, go to work. Don't go to work. Go outside, don't go outside. And then we will or won't, something or other. So we are saying, don't go
Sounds
to work,
very
go
accurate.
To work. Don't take public transport, go to work, don't go to work. Stay indoors. If you can work from home, go to work. Don't go to work. Go outside, don't go outside. And then we will or won't, something or other. So,
sounds very British and very bureaucratic and very true. Reminds me of those classic lines from the movie Brazil. Here's my receipt, here's your receipt, and here's my receipt for your receipt. Bandy X Lee, MD, writes, what Donald Trump is doing in Portland is a trial balloon, or in psychological terms, testing limits. He may believe that Oregon is far enough away to experiment with how much he can get away with, at the same time as punishing protesters in a blue state. This is a prelude. The doctor was eerily prescient, as we now know that these actions are expanding to Albuquerque and Chicago as the war on America continues, with Trump's troops leading the way in the streets, beating up American citizens. Robert Reich says, here's what a criminal state looks like. The president and first daughter hawk the canned beans of one of their supporters while federal troops attack innocent protesters in the street, and a preventable pandemic rages unchecked through vast swaths of the population. It does seem like we're failing. Remember the time that John Lewis crowd surfed on Stephen Colbert's show Let's watch just a little bit in celebration of Representative John Lewis crowd surfing with Stephen Colbert.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. You want to crowd surf? Yes. Want to jump into the crowd with me? Yes. Let's do it.
Careful not to use this audio here. The last time we showed any footage from Colbert, they took down the whole episode in the middle of the show. That was the power of CBS. But you can see here Mr. Lewis is getting ready to make the jump. And there it is. They're making sure they carry the 76-year-old gentleman. And look at him. There he is. Crowd surfing in the Ed Sullivan Theater, formerly David Letterman's theater. Now Stephen Colbert. Of course, this footage is owned by the CBS Corporation and The Late Show. I love this part, though.
What was it like to crowd surf?
Well, it was amazing. It was amazing. I just wanted people to keep me up and not let me hit the floor. Stephen Colbert said, "Do you want to do this?" I said, "Yes." You know, I crossed that bridge. I've been beaten and arrested and jailed a few times. So just go on with the flow. I thought it would be okay, and it did work out.
Just going with the flow. John Lewis, crowd surfing at 76. Very cool. Researchers are looking into cannabis as a potential COVID-19 treatment. Yes, specifically CBD oil could be used as an antiviral. It's an anti-inflammatory. So people that have the disease could be treated with CBD to reduce their symptoms. I believe Ramp Capital called this months ago, saying that CBD cures coronavirus. Maybe not 100%, but pretty close. Funny stuff, as Canada doesn't want the Major League Baseball to be played in Toronto. Yes, it's too unsafe in Canada, so let those suckers play in America. Later on, the Toronto Blue Jays tried to play in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh said they didn't want them, and now they're going to play in Buffalo, New York. There's Trump golfing with Lindsey Graham in the middle of the pandemic, in the middle of the protest crisis, in the middle of Portland being invaded by federal troops. He's out there golfing. It's just the way you'd want it to be, right? Doesn't care at all. They also say that Enterprise Rental Car has been famously supplying the feds with rental cars. Yes, they're using rental cars to snatch people in Portland. Maybe it's time for Enterprise Rent-A-Car to stop renting vehicles to the U.S. government if they're going to use these vehicles to snatch American citizens. That seems like common sense to me. Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff says face masks can end the U.S. coronavirus crisis. But why would we do that? Why would we want the crisis to end? Federal police strike a protester with batons and pepper spray outside of the courthouse in Portland, Oregon. Let's see this one more time. The protester, as we later learned, an older gentleman who was in the United States Navy, served in the Navy, and he wanted to ask these officers and these federal agents about their oath, that they took an oath to defend the American people. The officers responded by beating him, breaking his arms, and spraying him in the face with bear mace at close range. He's a Navy veteran. He's an old man. He wanted to talk to them. So they smashed him with clubs and sprayed him in the face. In America, in the United States, your tax dollars at work. They should all wear little patches to remind us of their Americanness. Maybe they could have flag-colored uniforms instead of camouflage. I think it would look much better if he was beating the shit out of that old man who's just standing there wearing an American flag. That would be more realistic. Here's more footage from protests where they're attacking mothers in the streets. Moms have begun showing up to the protests to try to defend the protesters from the violent federal troops who are snatching them on the streets of Portland. And here we can see the troops are getting ready to attack the moms. There they are, firing flashbang grenades at close range. Let's see if we get any tear gas. Oh, that's about it. So they just fired a flashbang grenade at close range right here. You can see the distance. And of course the threat. All these people are standing back, and there it is right there. Boom, scare the people. Flashbang grenades right in your face. Roger Stone was released from prison as we predicted here. He was given a, it was not a full pardon, but they commuted his sentence. And then he promptly went on a radio show. He was talking to someone else in the room, ignoring the radio host, and he said something horrible about how he was arguing with a, he used one of the N-words, but not the older one, I suppose. I don't know. But again, he's in huge trouble. But what does it matter? They commuted his sentence. He can do anything. Check out the movie, Get Me, Roger Stone. Fantastic documentary from 2017. I'll tell you everything you want to know about this monster who makes it easy for you and dresses just like a monster. He actually likes being a monster. He's got a Nixon tattoo on his back. He's a classic character. We're having some discussions about the Oculus Quest. The audience seems to think that you should get the 128 gigabyte version, with 61% voting that way, and 38% says you should get the 64 gigabyte version. As many in the comments says, the real question is, do you need to store a lot of educational videos on your Oculus? And a lot of people are a big fan of the educational videos that they like to watch by themselves in VR. So you might want the larger VR. Here's a breathtaking shot from Portland. The troops with their guns drawn, the tear gas everywhere, the clouds of smoke, chaos in the air. In the United States, caused by our president on purpose. They didn't take the picture in Russia or China or Syria, but right here in the U.S. As I said, Portland is a beautiful place full of multi-story bookstores, rivers, and free drinking fountains that bubble forever with water that actually tastes good. It's very sad to see it come to this. President Trump was asked if he would accept the results of the election. He said, "I have to see. Look, I have to see. No, I'm not going to just say yes. I'm not going to say no. And I didn't last time either." So there it is. The president is refusing to say whether or not he'll accept the results of the election. He's currently behind about 15 points in the head-to-head poll. And the latest number shows that he was even losing Texas, 45-44. Losing in Texas. But he won't accept the election results. Get ready for the coup. Everybody loves a coup. Oh, it's so fun to have a coup. You don't need to do anything. You just wait and see how you do with a coup. Here's an amazing video of carrots being harvested. Of course, I had no idea this happens or it's done this way, but there's an incredible machine that is cutting the earth and kind of a conveyor belt dragging an entire row of carrots. Looks like a perfect harvest straight out of the ground. Look at the incredible machines we have. Just wait until AI is doing all the jobs, probably doing them just as well as this machine does at harvesting carrots. Fantastic carrot harvester. We've also got suggestions. There's a certain kind of Oculus Quest called a Franken Quest, where you attach other things onto your Oculus Quest to make it more comfortable. The suggestions that we're reading is you should try out the HTC Vive Deluxe audio headset. You could kind of attach it with Velcro straps to your existing Quest, and then it has headphones built into the back section. There's also suggestions for VR covers padding and Mammut grips. Good stuff to make your VR experience more exciting. There's a lot of news, but let's just keep going. Andreas Antonopoulos says, it's just the flu victims' bodies are now filling refrigerator trucks in Texas. Stay home, and if you go out, wear your fucking mask. Andreas Antonopoulos. John Cleese has a new live performance. Check it out in just 2 weeks on Sunday, August 2nd. Join John from anywhere in the world, and he'll explain why there is no hope. John Cleese, new comedy special, Why There Is No Hope. Well, maybe there won't even be comedy. Who knows? But John Cleese. We've got more news on PayPal. PayPal has chosen Paxos Global to handle the sourcing of digital assets for its forthcoming crypto service, according to 2 people familiar with the matter. Still no official announcement, still no press releases officially from PayPal, but it continues to look like PayPal might finally accept cryptocurrency, just in time for no one to want to use PayPal ever again. Here's the United States outpacing the rest of the world in COVID cases. Look at that. Go, go, go. All the way. USA. More cases than anyone. Just keeps climbing. 2 million. 3 million. And just recently, the entire world passed 4 million COVID-19 cases. Florida reports more than 10,000 new coronavirus cases for the 5th day. Over the past 7 days, the median age of newly infected people in Florida was above 40. Very dangerous for Florida. The New York Times collected 64 videos of extreme violence committed by the New York Police Department in the first 2 weeks of the protests. In this same period, New York City taxpayers paid NYPD officers $115 million in overtime. They paid them to assault, maim, choke, beat, and terrorize protesters. We need to talk. The former Navy veteran who we showed the video of him being beaten by federal officers earlier, who's being called Captain Portland, is a 53-year-old Navy veteran named Chris David. The former Navy CO wanted a word with them about their oath. They broke his hand in 2 places. Here's more video of the moms standing up to tear gas in Portland. You see that they're now tear gassing mothers on the streets of Portland. Such a beautiful place, Portland. Look at all those trees. How nice it is to have all those trees in your streets. Sacramento and Portland both have a lot of trees. And here the moms came back in force. It seems like the more you attack the American people, the more you beat them in the streets, the more they come back. Almost as if they're reading the manual on how to handle these things backwards, or perhaps are intentionally provoking the protesters to cause larger and larger protests. As Petra says here, remember when a dozen moms got flashbanged 2 nights ago? I think we just showed that footage this morning. So 30 showed up, and then they got tear gassed. And we just showed that video a second ago. Easily hundreds tonight, if not 1,000. It's hard for her to tell from the video. And she says again that it's beautiful. Look at these moms marching, wearing yellow to protect the protesters of Portland. Schooley says, I remember back when people who warned that Trump would find an excuse to roll out a sketchy private army before the election were labeled hysterics. Yes, that was funny times. I remember when he didn't have his own Stustafa. Yes, those were the good old days. Look at all these mom protesters in Portland singing a lullaby of hands up, don't shoot me. Let's listen just a little bit. Very cool. Good idea to use the melody of a popular song to get your slogan across. Good stuff. Let's see. Brian Tyler Cohen says these may be the best 14 seconds in the history of CNN.
But I'll bet you couldn't even answer the last 5 questions.
The very last questions ask that you name the date, the month, year, day, the place, and the city that you are in. And that is what the President of the United States is bragging about being able to do.
But I'll bet you couldn't even answer the last 5 questions.
The very last questions ask that you name the date, the month, year, day, the place, and the city that you are in. And that is what the President of the United States is bragging about being able to do.
So he knows where he is, and he knows the day, month, and year. Impressive stuff from the president. They say there's now around 2,000 people in front of the Justice Center with moms in yellow lined up front, stretching across a whole block in Portland, Oregon. Paul Rosenweg, a senior policy advisor during the George W. Bush administration, says Trump is morphing DHS into his little private rogue secret army. Yes, you're watching it in real time. The president dictator is developing private secret army ability. Yes. Congratulations to Joy Reid, formerly The Weekend Show on MSNBC. She got her own weeknight show 5 days a week, The Readout, taking the place of Chris Matthews' show Hardball. As Elliot Williams writes here, not 5 seconds into the readout with Joy-Ann Reid, his 3-year-old daughter, who is in the room, points at the screen and shouts out, "Mommy, she has curly hair just like me." Representation is no joke, people. So very cool to see someone that looks like his daughter on the screen reading the news. Congratulations to Joy-Ann Reid, perhaps following in the footsteps of Gwen Ifill, who I was just talking about the other day. Great journalist on PBS, passed away far too young, Gwen Ifill. And of course now, Joy-Ann Reid. Very cool stuff. Bad news for my mask that I was wearing and many other people's masks. N95 masks that have a vent on them actually cause your germs to spread rather than containing them close to your face. As you can see, the mask on the left has an out vent that just outputs the air pretty much. So I don't think it doesn't quite project it or spread it. It's not enhancing it, but it doesn't block it perfectly. All you have to do, though, is cover this vent up with tape. It's not that bad. At first, I was like, oh, no, I have to get a new mask, and you can't even get these masks on the right. Those are special doctor masks and so on and so forth. But you can just cover up your vent masks with tape. You can just tape over the vents. So good to know. Would have been nice to know this sooner, but there it is from San Francisco. Personal shout out. A couple of days ago, I passed 500 days of learning German with Duolingo. I don't do it quite every day. They have kind of like a streak freeze thing. You can keep your streak going. But I do try to do it every day, and I've been doing it for 500 days now, almost 2 years. So very cool. I'm having a lot of progress. I feel like I can read German pretty well. I still don't feel like I have all the words that I need, and when I try to think or talk, I can't really say anything, but I have way more than I used to have. I had no German at all. So very cool, Duolingo. If you want to learn something, maybe you're in quarantine or you're stuck at home, about 15, 20 minutes a day on this app, you can learn, something of another language. Certainly, I'm not saying I don't know it all, but you can learn a couple of words here or there, and it might come in handy someday if we ever get to travel again. So check out Duolingo. Another trick that I used is I went ahead and paid Duolingo. For me, if I pay for something, it means that I've invested in it, and now I have to try to get my money out of it. So when I play Duolingo on my phone, I'm getting back that, I don't know what it was. It was not even that much. It's like $10 a month or something, which is awesome for another language. So check out Duolingo or maybe another program like this. They have lots of them, so I really suggest it. Here's a classic photo remembering Robin Williams on what would have been his 69th birthday. Let's see if we can get to a larger screen. There you go, right there. You can see it. There's Robin, and this is at the Palace of Fine Arts in San Francisco out there on the coast. It's a copy, a brass cast of Rodin's Thinker, and Robin is standing in front of the Thinker offering him a roll of toilet paper. Very cool, awesome museum in San Francisco. I used to go there all the time, and it's also very near where Robin Williams' house used to be in San Francisco up there on the coast. So sad not to have Robin Williams around, but he left us so many wonderful movies, and there's a great book about Robin Williams. It's called Robin, and I read it a few years ago. It's great stuff. So if you want to learn more about Robin Williams, and it's fun. It kind of brings him back, reading about him, watching his old videos. There's just a lot out there. It's almost like he's not gone. Here's more footage from Portland, where the moms in helmets and the dads in hard hats are chanting, "Feds go home, feds go home." Let's hear a little of that. Another excellent chant from Portland. Good beat, nice tempo. It's got a good beat, and you can dance to it. So, all right, Portland. Here's some more absolutely insane footage from Portland. Let's see. That's just creepy military sounds. Look at the police marching forward, all the tear gas, all the smoke canisters. What must be going through their heads as they invade an American city and attack their countrymen? Many people thought that American troops wouldn't do this. In the conspiracy theory circles, there's been rumors for years that they were going to swap out American troops with Latin American troops from other countries, that they would be more willing to attack people if they thought of them as the other, right? If they didn't think of them as someone that looked and acted and spoke their own language, things like that. But here we see that these Americans have no problem attacking their fellow Americans because they were given an order. Everyone forgot all the orders that came before and all the things that happened because people blindly followed orders. But look at them marching through the streets, firing tear gas canisters at their fellow man. Who's causing the chaos here? And why?
What's behind you? Behind you!
Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz concedes that he improperly sent $28,000 in taxpayer funds to an LLC connected to the speechwriting consultant Darren Beattie, a former White House aide who was ousted after appearing at a convention known as a forum for racists and white supremacist views. That's interesting. Trump had another press conference. It was supposed to be about the coronavirus, but they asked him about Ghislaine Maxwell, the associate of Jeffrey Epstein, who allegedly did not kill himself. He put that rock on his head purposely. He dropped a giant rock on his own head. In the aftermath of the Stone pardon, Trump says that he wishes her well. Of course, as Betsy Woodruff Swan says, in the aftermath of the Stone pardon, it reeks of the president indicating to her that he might reward her if she stays silent about whatever she knows about him. And then on the July 22nd, he announced that he'd be surging law enforcement into American cities like Portland. They say that the authorities will be aimed at radical movements. That's right. The American people are at last revealed to be the true enemy in the war on terror. The Patriot Act and so on and so forth were designed to take away your rights so that in case you ever became the enemy, they could do whatever they want to you. And they're surging in Chicago and Albuquerque, as we heard earlier. Here's a video of the actual surge. You see one troop here with his death head helmet saluting another troop with the Hail Trump salute. Hail Trump. And we see some people here in one of the Trump relocation camps where they're seeming to be entertained by this comedian here. So I'm sure everything is fine. Those striped uniforms, they chose those because vertical stripes are very thinning. It helps you look thinner. Doug Morris writes, "This is what dictators do. Create an issue to solve with military power. It doesn't matter that gun crimes are used with weapons easily brought in from states with lax gun laws. Certainly doesn't care that COVID is doing more damage in these same communities. What's important is about problem, reaction, solution." And they know the solution. As Stone Kettle says, we can't clarify whether or not these troops invading American cities are militarized cops. Are they the military acting as cops? Are they contractors with the powers of both? You don't know. And does it even matter at this point? As Stone Kettle says, once we signed the Patriot Act, etc., into law, this was inevitable. And that's what people have been telling you for years, but nothing was done about it. George W. Bush expanded the executive powers of the president. Obama, once he was given the power, continued to expand the executive powers of the president, which is no problem at all unless the presidency falls into the hands of someone untrustworthy like Trump. So we created the most powerful position in the world. Then we allowed it to fall into the hands of Dr. Evil. Stone Kettle says, when America sold its soul for the empty promise of safety, then we were always going to end up right here. When the only thing standing between totalitarianism and the citizen are the supposed morality of politicians, then totalitarianism is inevitable. Every time. Stone Kettle says, I warned you. Others warned you. The founders warned you. Some of you listened, but many of you didn't. You didn't believe. You thought somebody else would stand up, so you could have the luxury of pissing your vote away. Only now, too late, do you finally see it. Drew Garrison writes, everything about reopening Las Vegas completely backfired. And this idea that they were saving the economy was an always bullshit Hail Mary idiocracy. Huge layoffs happening now, and the outbreak is worse than it's ever been out there. Well done, everyone. Well done. Everything is fine. Nothing to see here, nothing wrong at all. Here's the Trump troops pouring into Portland, Chicago, Kansas City, and Albuquerque. Spoiler alert, the real enemy is you. And protect the homeland. Hail Hydra. Funny stuff here. Trying to distract you from the horrible realities of military troops moving into the United States. As Mad Bitcoins himself said, no more virus. Now we've got to have military police in the street so our 4-year-olds can sleep at night and kids can play in the street. When fascism comes to America, it will be wrapped in the flag and carrying a cross. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and a share. Say hello if you're in the YouTube comments. I'm not sure the chat is working. We might have been shadow banned. We don't get a chat anymore. Who knows? Maybe if we're lucky, the British will invade again to get us our freedom back. They could even get some cool Americana for their museum. This is win-win. There's a new operation called Operation Legend. Later I learned it was for Legend, a young boy. I think he was a toddler that was murdered. And I guess he had a dream that military police would one day be busting heads on the streets of America. And Trump is now bringing this young boy's dream true by busting some heads. Here's a classic advertisement that was released before the 2016 election. Christopher Bouzet says, it's scary how accurately it predicted key events. Let's check out this political advertisement from 2016.
President Trump's plan to ban Muslims from entering the U.S. has touched off a firestorm.
The shockwaves truly global, political, and financial.
The largest series of raids to hit the U.S. this year.
Saudi Arabia with nuclear weapons.
Trump saying that he would allow Russia to run roughshod over the East Europeans.
Donald Trump will win.
He is the apparent victor by less than 1%.
President Trump's
powerful advertisement released before the 2016 election, especially prescient the way it talked about Trump abandoning our NATO allies and allowing them to be swept through, as well as everything else, the Muslim ban, all of this predicted before it happened. Incredible advertisement there, reminding you of the importance of voting. Christopher Bouzet says, please explain to me, why are we allowing a doddering geriatric former game show host in orange makeup to go full authoritarian? I don't remember if I responded or not, but I tried to quote Fiddler on the Roof and say, tradition, tradition, da 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 da. But I don't know. I don't want to make any statement in that way. I just thought it was funny. Unmarked federal forces being deployed by a president to cities where he isn't popular is not a political stunt. It's fascism. It's the actions of a dictator. Even describing it as a political stunt is a dangerously watered-down use of language. Folks have learned nothing. Does seem that way. And again, shout out to Steve Wozniak, Apple co-founder, hero, one of the creators, maybe the creator of the personal computer, changed all of our lives amazingly. And now he's doing it again. He's suing YouTube over these Bitcoin giveaway scams. It makes no sense why YouTube can't shut these down faster. It's really an obvious scam. They play a video of Woz or Elon Musk or Bill Gates or another famous person that you think has money. Then on the side of the video, they put up this graphic that says, if you're an idiot and you send us money, we'll double that money and send it back to you. You idiot. except they leave out the word idiot, and still they raise, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I was going to say millions, but at least hundreds of thousands of dollars on these amazing, easy-to-do scams that there are often 10 of them running at the same time. A YouTube administrator would only have to search for these and shut them down. Instead, YouTube allowed them to run, presumably destroying the character of Wozniak, the reputation of Wozniak, Elon Musk, Bill Gates. If you sent him money and he didn't double it and send it back to you, you're going to be angry at Woz. And that's not right, because Woz didn't do anything. So YouTube's in trouble. They might have to settle this one. Here's a classic Star Trek minus context at No Context Trek on Twitter. It's a picture of Gul Dukat, the Cardassian, and he says, "What I did to make Cardassia strong again." He's one of the monsters of the show. Actually, one of the most interesting characters because of his duality. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, usually bad. A new lawsuit, this time by the First Unitarian Church of Portland, is among those suing federal law enforcement for violating the First Amendment and the 10th Amendment, accusing the Gestapo of kidnapping people who were walking home peacefully, far from federal buildings. So there are lawsuits moving against the Portland attacks, but the legal system lags behind and moves far slower than the kind of justice that you might want in the street. The White House staff just got an email that says there's no reason for panic or alarm, but the cafeterias in the two buildings next to the White House, the Executive Office Building and the new Executive Office Building, are closed because a staffer tested positive for COVID-19. We've said this before and we'll say it again. You can't reopen the economy until you eliminate the virus. And even if you're rich and powerful, like the people who work in the White House, it's always the weakest link. It's always the person who makes your food, the person who cleans your house, the person who pay almost nothing for their services that could get sick and will get sick and will bring the virus to you. It's better to stay at home. It really is. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, another statement that I'm sure you can't agree with because she's so liberal. She says, "The United States of America should not have secret police." I agree with that. And Twitter has recapped, revealing more information about the Twitter hack. They say that 130 total accounts were targeted by the attackers. 45 accounts had tweets sent by attackers. Why does the administration tool allow this? Really, if you want to talk about it, the tweets should all be encrypted. You should only be able to read tweets that you have the key for. And in this way, you would need the key to sign and send a message. That's the way the system should have been built. But that breaks the ability to scan everyone's tweets for advertising. That breaks the ability to censor everyone's tweets if they say something really bad. Twitter would truly be an uncontrolled platform if they just encrypted everything and used friend of a friend keys to allow you with access to it. Sure, there could be a man-in-the-middle attack, but better to have everything encrypted and worry about a man-in-the-middle than to have everything in plain text and let the advertisers scan it all. But of course, you have to have the advertisers because they have to make money because, I don't know, the startups twisted what the internet was, what it was in the 1970s, what Unix was, what the internet was. Doesn't need all this money. Could just be protocols and encryption. We have all the tools now to build this. It just wouldn't be as popular as Facebook and Twitter because they have marketing and they have money. 36 accounts had their DM inbox accessed. I don't know if you know this. I've known this for a long time. Never say anything in your Twitter DMs. They're definitely going to be hacked and exposed. Try not to put your phone number in there. Try not to put your address in your Twitter DM, so on and so forth. If any of these politicians or celebrities made the mistake of sending their phone number or address or even worse, bank account information, Bitcoin private keys. Who knows what they did? It could be accessed, and the hackers did access 36 of these DM boxes. 8 of the accounts had an archive of your Twitter data downloaded. None of these accounts were verified. Not sure why that makes it better. Recently, someone had said that you could no longer download your Twitter data, that they had temporarily disabled that feature. So the hackers could have gotten a lot more, but this is what, according to Twitter, they got. Elon Musk, powerful and interesting tweet. It got 47,000 retweets. He says, "You don't have a soul. You are a soul." It's deep stuff there from Elon Musk. It does feel more like you're inhabiting a meat puppet, a human suit, like in Men in Black. They say here that this trash can lid and gas masks are evidence of offensive weapons by the protesters. Acting Deputy Secretary Ken Cuccinelli of Homeland Security, "Das Homeland. We must secure the fatherland. Here's a shield and a couple of gas masks from a rioter arrested in Portland. Not a sign with a slogan that someone expressing their First Amendment rights might carry, but preparations for violence. Peaceful protester? I don't think so." To which Stone Kettle responded, "How are gas masks offensive weapons? Do you believe citizens are required to breathe in tear gas? How is a shield an offensive weapon? Do you believe citizens are somehow required to allow the government to shoot them in the face with rubber bullets? Show your work, Ken." Stone Kettle really nailing it today on Twitter. Be sure to follow Stone Kettle at Stone Kettle on Twitter. He's got some great tweets. Blue Wallet is seeing a lot of adoption in countries that you might not think about. Blue Wallet is a Bitcoin wallet that allows you to also use the Lightning Network. It's very cool. And here Nuno writes, this is their year-over-year growth by country. Lebanon, 13,000%. Cuba, 12,000%. Thailand, 400%. Nigeria, 300%. South Africa, 200%. Ghana, 200%. Namibia, 200%. Philippines, 200%. Venezuela, around 150%. And Pakistan, up 122%. So impressive growth for Blue Wallet and possible Bitcoin and, perhaps more important these days, Lightning adoption in countries you wouldn't think about. Lebanon, Cuba, Thailand, Nigeria, South Africa, Ghana, Namibia, Philippines, Venezuela, and Pakistan. It appears that federal officers during dispersal pepper sprayed the medical supplies in the tents in Portland. You can see the packages here are covered with orange pepper spray. You can no longer use any of this gear or equipment. Also, if you touch it, it would get pepper spray on you, so on and so forth. As Eric Feigl-Din writes, this is FUBAR. The Geneva Convention states that destroying medical equipment is a war crime violation. Yet here in Portland in the United States, the federal officers are destroying medical equipment. Jess Dweck writes, I feel like people think that fascism isn't happening here because they can still get 25 different types of Oreos. Funny stuff. Kurt Eichenwald writes, I fear the United States is irreparable. I believe conservative media and the GOP have created an alternate reality that left millions of people consumed by fantasy conspiracies. I believe they're lost in rage, addiction, and ignorance. I fear the insanity that Trumpism has brought is here for good. And just as a palate cleanser, trying to put out some nice pictures because there's So little nice things left around us in this world. Here's a picture of St. Stephen's Basilica from Budapest, Hungary. Beautiful building lit mostly by natural light from the cupola above. Here's a close-up of the cupola. You can see the paintings surrounding the windows, the gilded edges, all the gold and so forth. Just a magical and magnificent cathedral there in Budapest. Of course, I was very lucky I got to visit there in 2019. Sadly now, the dictator of Hungary has declared some rather negative laws using the coronavirus as cover. So it might not be so safe to go to Budapest anymore. But hopefully that'll change. Hopefully it'll get better. It's a beautiful city, wonderful people in Budapest. The mayor of Portland was tear-gassed in his own streets in downtown Portland. As he told the New York Times, "It stings. It's hard to breathe. I can tell you with 100% honesty that I saw nothing that provoked this response." And we've got a fun story. They just named the new Seattle hockey team. It's coming to the NHL. It is the Kraken, the Seattle Kraken. So, of course, many of you know that Kraken is a famous Bitcoin exchange at kraken.com, run by my friend Jesse Powell. So pretty cool stuff. I think we're going to get to it soon. I ran a poll to see what Kraken should do with kraken.com, and it sounds like everyone agrees they should keep running an exchange. So Jesse's probably going to have to buy a lot of Kraken gear. I see a lot of Kraken jerseys in the Kraken offices, Kraken hats, so on and so forth. I've heard he's not pleased with San Francisco, according to Twitter. So hell, maybe he'll move the country to Seattle. They named the team after him. Here's a video of the mayor of Portland being tear-gassed in Portland last night. He does have goggles on. That's a good idea. They look like science goggles, but it doesn't look like his surgical face mask is doing that much. You're going to want something like a rebreather, something like a large gas mask. Oh, he's trying to breathe water during it. He's probably going to throw up. Poor guy. Portland mayor, tear-gassed. And as Joshua says, it says a lot that the feds didn't care that he was there last night and just went ahead and gassed everyone anyway. Trump talked to Putin again, and he did not ask Putin about Russian intelligence paying bounties to kill U.S. troops. Just didn't mention it. Oh well. And there's an excellent new blog about Portland. It's called Portland Awakens. They have a report from the front line. Everyone should check this out. It's at It's Going Down, itsgoingdown.org. And here's a quote from the website. They said, "What did the police state expect when they trained us every night to withstand them? What did they think would happen when they taught us that a flashbang is nothing but light and noise? When they carve their caustic lesson into our lungs, the gas is agony, but it does not last. In 5 minutes, you can be ready for more, roaring back into the fight." It does seem like they underestimated the resolve of the people of Portland. Breaking news. The new GOP coronavirus bill includes another $21 billion for the Pentagon. The Pentagon already got $10 billion in the CARE Act, and this is all on top of an existing $740 billion military budget. Meanwhile, struggling Americans are getting next to nothing. Thanks to Public Citizen at public_citizen on Twitter for sharing this information. Public Citizen is one of the groups founded by Ralph Nader to get information to the American people about their government. Ralph Nader helping you out again, even if you didn't know about it. Robert Reich said, "I don't know who needs to hear this, but including another $21 billion for the Pentagon in a bill that refuses to extend extra unemployment benefits for 25 million people is the real looting in America. The investigations, as Dan Rather warned you, are beginning. DOJ Inspector General Michael Horowitz is launching investigations into justice personnel and their response to protest activity and civil unrest in Lafayette Square, D.C., and of use of force in Portland, Oregon, following requests from Congress and others. And sad news from baseball, where like gladiators, they're making the players risk their lives for your entertainment. Washington Nationals star Juan Soto has tested positive for COVID-19 and will miss tonight's season opener against the New York Yankees, sources tell ESPN. Even baseball players are not protected from the COVID-19. King George III orders deployment of redcoats to the colonies in a surge to suppress protest against the absolutism of the crowd. Funny tweet from Stone Kettle, writing about how Trump is sending a surge of federal forces into Chicago, with more cities to come. President said, "I have to protect the American people. That's what I have always done," said the President of the United States, to the belief of no one, really, says Jonathan Capehart. And in news not making headlines this week, but still worth talking about, flooding in Assam and Nepal kills hundreds and displaces millions. 1/3 of Bangladesh is underwater in one of the worst deluges to hit the region. Worst flooding in decades endangers China's Three Gorges Dam. 40 million people may be affected if the dam goes. That's, of course, why they warned them not to build the dam. But they went ahead and built it anyway. And here's Dr. Anthony Fauci throwing out the first pitch last night at the Washington Nationals. He starts out a little too high, up in the air. His arm's just too high there, and then he angles it out to the left there. You can see they put a little trail on the ball so you can see where it goes. Even has kind of a strange whiplash backwards there. But yes, a sad pitch there by Dr. Fauci. I, of course, had to sarcastically comment, America's COVID response. And finally, that I don't know why I thought this would be better. His Nationals mask fooled me. He's throwing from the front, so it's shorter, which is good and should help. But then everything just goes wrong. So it's important to practice these pitches. This is a pretty bad pitch. I thought that Gary's pitch, Baba Booey, was one of the worst pitches ever. But this is kind of up there. And again, he fooled me with that mask. I'm sure he's a baseball fan. He just can't throw it. And I doubt I could do it either. But especially with the pressure and millions of people watching and all that. But not a great pitch by Dr. Fauci. Andy Slavitt writes, if you remember how long it took to get 1 million cases of COVID-19 in the U.S., we just added 1 million in the last 2 weeks. Great job, United States. Really breaking ground, spreading that virus. And here's a shot from Portland just last night. Throughout this video, because of its delayed nature, you're kind of able to see the protests in Portland happen all the way through this video. It started out with that early crowd of just a few moms and the flashbang grenade shot directly at them. Then there was a much larger crowd of moms, and they were tear-gassed. They came back the next day with an even larger crowd of moms, and now you can see they're filling the entire square, lighting their camera phones here, and each shining light is a different person protesting in Portland. This is the response to Donald Trump's federal troops in the street. Portland is standing up. Now we get to see if the same thing's going to happen in Albuquerque and Chicago. A federal court just ordered a restraining order on the federal agents in Portland, Oregon. The ACLU said that they would deploy their full firepower in this fight to save our democracy, and they meant it. Congratulations to the ACLU. And I think we're going to end with this, almost to the end, with this video from Portland. This is Noah Brand standing at the fence for another night. He's got an Animaniacs mask and a fantastic Captain America shield. Let's listen to Noah and find out why he's at the protests and why he does what he does.
Hey, why are you out here?
Thank you.
Why are you out here?
I'd prefer not to be, but someone has to. We cannot allow this kind of injustice to go unchallenged. We cannot allow intimidation to succeed. We can't let them bully us off our own streets as though that's somehow okay. So, we have to stand up.
Is this your first night?
Oh, no. And unfortunately, I doubt it'll be my last because, well, there's a lot that still needs fixing, and until the feds leave and the police are seriously defunded or reformed, our job isn't done.
Are you staying even if there's tear gas?
I have before. I don't like it. Believe me, there are things I would rather be doing tonight. But justice requires people to stand up.
Justice requires people to stand up. Powerful message from Noah Brand in Portland. Thanks to Petra for sending that video along. There's a new artificial intelligence called GPT-3. You should check that out. It's an impressive thread here on Twitter. It will blow your mind what it's capable of doing. So yes, AI is definitely coming for your job. There's a nice story about newlyweds in Hong Kong who were arrested and tried on charges of rioting, an offense that could carry a penalty up of 10 years in jail. They were ready for a life apart, but it sounds like things are going to work out all right. But check out the thread here about Hong Kong. Just today, Trump is going to his New Jersey golf club at the height of the pandemic with no plan to reopen schools or businesses. No testing plan is in place. People are getting sick and dying daily, and he's going on vacation. Don't ever tell me that he gives a damn about America ever again. The president will not be at his daily intelligence briefing because he's too busy playing golf. He currently had just 3 briefings in the month of July. In contrast, he played golf on 6 days this month. Another palate cleanser here. 4 years ago today, thanks to Time Hop, this really cool program that goes through my photos and shows me them on the day that they were taken. 4 years ago, I got to visit the Stanley Kubrick exhibit at the Contemporary Museum of Jewish History in San Francisco. It was a fantastic exhibit. As you can see here in the video, I touched his chair. I touched Stanley Kubrick's chair. I know, against the rules. But you can see me there with the Space Baby from 2001. Very cool. There's the mask worn by Tom Cruise in Eyes Wide Shut. There's a model of the maze from The Shining. How cool is that? And I think there's just a couple more photos here. Let's see. Oh, here's a Roman emperor type uniform from Spartacus. I think that would be from there. Very detailed for a costume. Looks good. There's a Clockwork Orange outfit right there. Maybe Malcolm McDowell. You can see the cufflinks with the eyeballs and the blood. Very stylish cufflinks. Here's a model of the Dr. Strangelove room that they created. I think they used this model. Maybe they had a real life one as well. And here's a model of 2001, the scene where he runs around in a circle. They actually created a large real life circle for them to run around in that they could rotate so that they could get all those shots of the astronauts working out in space. Very cool stuff from the Stanley Kubrick exhibit. You can see much more in the background. There's a book, and I'm told this exhibit is still touring. Someone responded that they were going to go see it in New York soon, so very cool. I don't know the details, but check it out. It's the Stanley Kubrick exhibit. It's been all over, and it might be in your town soon, so very cool stuff. Julie Jenks is saving everyone time. Here's a mock-up for your future research endeavors. You can see no matter what the topic is, everything was going up fine, 2019, 2020, a big low number, and everything starts going up fine again after that. So she's very optimistic. But yes, every chart is going to look like this. You did a lot of stuff, and then 2020, you didn't do so much. So, funny chart. We've almost made it to the top. This is a pretty good video. As Andy Slavitt says, this may be the best 45 seconds on the coronavirus that exists. Let's check it out from the show In the Bubble with Andy Slavitt. Here's Larry Brilliant.
We are facing a really bad coronavirus. It's just a virus. It's just a sack of RNA surrounded by a bunch of fat, and it has no intentionality. It is not trying to kill us, to feed us. It is programmed to infect us. We are smarter than it is. Our science is better than it is. And if it was just our science and the goodwill of American people, absent bad governance, we would have defeated it already. I don't mean we would have eradicated it, but we would have been much further along into kicking it into the dustbin of history, which is what we will do when we gather our wits about us. We are facing a really bad coronavirus.
That was an excellent and very reasonable take. I especially agree with him that without the bad governance, the goodwill of the American people and our science would have already defeated it. Check out a new interview from the Lightning Conference 2019. We're still releasing videos that have never been seen before from the Lightning Conference. Check out this one with Killian Roche on the World Crypto Network right here. Subscribe down below. And finally, the results of our poll. What should Kraken do with Kraken.com? 77% say run an exchange. 22% say sell it to Seattle. So, time for Jesse to buy some Kraken t-shirts and hats and jerseys and adopt the new team that happens to share the name of their exchange. Very cool stuff for the Seattle Kraken and very cool stuff for the Kraken Bitcoin exchange. Thanks so much for joining us today. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and a share. We made it through all the news. I think we did a whole week's worth of news in 2 hours. That seems like a good deal. And now there's no more news, so we're free. We're free from the news. We've broken all the graphics in the browsers. That's strange. There's no browser window there anymore, but still free from the news. Browser broken, hopefully not the whole time. Check out the World Crypto Network store at worldcryptonetwork.store. You can get our new Treasures Don't Float t-shirt designed by Philippe, as well as Davi Barker's Bitcoin Not Bombs Bitcoin Halvening 2020 Special Edition. These orange shirts are all the rage. All the OG Bitcoiners have one. Here's your chance to get one with the new 2020 limited edition Bitcoin Halvening Bitcoin Not Bombs t-shirt on worldcryptonetwork.store. Also, check out the audio podcast. I'll try to make sure to have it updated by tomorrow. Of course, this is going to create one of those things that everyone hates where, you know, a bunch of episodes get posted at the same time, but it's just more stuff to listen to, right? You don't have to listen to all of it. You can randomly skip around. We've got an interview with Oliver Gugger right here from the TLC, the Lightning Conference 2019. We've also got interviews coming out from the Transylvania Crypto Conference. Here's an interview with Tone Vase, Peter Todd, and Dan Eve right here on the World Crypto Network podcast. Also, be sure to give us a rating. Several people have started rating us down because they don't like our politics, but still, it's a pretty good podcast, even if it does have some politics. So checking in again with the price of Bitcoin. Looks like it's gone up a little bit since we started the show, but still not up for the day. The price of Bitcoin is down 0.25% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 9,583, a high of 9,618, and a low of 9,469. That's $1 for 10,434 Satoshis. That's a sweet deal. As 2,101 Bitcoins have been traded today, pretty low volume for a Friday. The market continues to lean margin long, with 83% of the market now heading that direction. Bitcoin dominance is down slightly, now at 62.15%. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll try to be back tomorrow if there's some more news. Maybe we'll just talk about movies. I watched a bunch of movies. Did that thing where the key to watching a lot of movies is just like watching a lot of books. When one movie ends, you immediately start the next movie. And the same thing, when one book ends, you immediately start the next book. Or even better, read a bunch of books at the same time. That's generally what I do. Also, reading all day, watching movies all day, that's a great way to watch a lot of movies and read a lot of books. So maybe we'll talk about books and movies tomorrow. Maybe there'll be some fun news because it's Friday, and it's always good to dump your fun news on Friday. But thanks so much to the 30 or so who joined us live during the show. Thanks to everybody watching later. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and a share. Add a comment down below. I hear the chat's been a little quiet, probably because we're off schedule and we had some time off and so forth. So hopefully there'll be more people in the chat tomorrow. We'll have a bigger discussion. So thanks so much for joining us. Until next time, bye-bye.